All right, welcome in. McElroy, Cubelic in the morning, Monday, September 8th. Right here on Jox. Glad you're with us. Week 2 college football has now passed, and we have some surprises nationally. Some might say we have some surprises locally based on how certain teams looked and how certain teams played compared to what people thought they were going to look like or thought that they were going to do. We'll get to all of it. We'll get to your feedback, 800-239-9569. You want to get in, tweet in at Mac and Cube. Listen online, joxfm.com. Also, we're live on YouTube. You can watch each and every day. Search Jox945. Alabama back in the win column, GMAC, and a lot of people are going to go ahead and point to the level of opponent. I understand that. I don't really think it was about the opponent this week. I think it was about that team, those individuals, those position groups, that coaching staff, 73-0 over UL Monroe, and they take care of their business in a fascinating way. Not even Greg McElroy had gone 17-17 in an Alabama game before. Ty Simpson comes out and does that for Alabama. He was perfect on the night, 226, 3 touchdowns. He had 3 Alabama quarterbacks throw multiple touchdowns in a game. That had never happened before. All in all, I was impressed. All in all, I came away thinking this team knew what happened. This team got a wake-up call. This team made some alterations, not only to maybe some schemes and personnel, but also to themselves mentally and how they handled things. I think if you're an Alabama fan, you feel pretty good about this one. If you want to have a little bit of pause and wait for the next couple of weeks, I get it. But this is about as good as you could have asked for against this UL Monroe team, in my opinion.
I thought it was phenomenal. And I don't throw that word out there very often when describing a team that should be beat convincingly. You know, I mean, for the record, like I watched a little ULM leading up to the game last week. Like I know their scheme. Some of the things they do offensively have been some of the things that Bama struggled with. Cole, am I wrong? Like if you really watch them, like they got some in the misdirection. They go some stretch zone. Like they can do some things and make things a little tough. All I was watching, and I told you from the get-go last week, was how is the effort? How is the response? How will the defense strike? How will the defense get off the ball? And I could not have been more impressed. Because a lot of teams this weekend, go watch Georgia's tape. Go watch a few others. Kind of just went through the motions. Bama absolutely did not. And I think it's a reflection of the guys on the team. Like they heard the noise, they heard the buzz, they heard the criticism, and they responded and have now adjusted course completely. I was really proud of the effort. How would you grade the effort on Saturday?
I'd give it an A. I didn't see issues with it. I didn't see anybody that I saw or that I looked at and wondered why they weren't given a little bit more or thought it could be a little bit more. And I mean, I had the unfortunate advantage in this conversation of being around it a little bit, talking to the staff about it, and getting some behind-the-scenes looks at things that they did, conversations that they had. Guys that were trying to do some different things. We talked to Ty Simpson, and he took ownership of a lot of things and understood what was there, what was happening, and what they were up against. We talked to Deontay Lawson, who I'll say I was impressed that he came and sat down with us after he played week 1. The way that he played, and he understood what happened. He admitted, and I'll give you credit. You kind of said this last week that the knee was something that he was definitely thinking about in the game, and now that he had a game under him, thought that it was going to be able to be easier to manage and not going to be as much of a problem. So, some of the things that we talked about, some things we thought may have been real. There was, I guess, a strive for perfection week 1, and I think you and I know when that's happening. That brings a little extra thought to what you're doing, and it's more of a second guess than it is a thought of I don't want to just attack this because I want to really make sure this is the right thing, and then you're a step behind or you're not playing with the intensity level that you needed to prior, and you didn't really get that. I mean, I thought Alabama's second, third team defense played harder than the first team defense. That's not a knock on the first team defense. I just thought those young kids came in and they were flying around. I mean, Kirkpatrick is kicked out of the game, but it's like it was a devastating hit. Like, I mean, they were out for blood. QB Reese in there, scoop and score, recovering a fumble, knocking guys around. It was impressive to see what the next wave of players did. It was almost like they took it more personal than the first team guys. Once again, not a knock on the first team guys because they did what they needed to do. I love the game plan early. I thought Grubb came out and said, let's give him some definitive completions, some definitive reads, get the perimeter going, extend the run game a little bit. We'll run the quarterback some. And then as the game went on, it became a little bit more of the downhill run game. And multiple backs I thought ran hard. I thought Brailsford played his rear end off again. Another fascinating game from him. I didn't think the one holding call that he got on him on the touchdown run should have been a hold, but I'm probably going to be a little bit more lenient on those than a lot of other people. So thought the backs ran hard. Thought Cuevas once again showed you he can be a real assistance to what they want to do in the run game physically.
He's been a nice surprise so far.
Big time. And they know that. And because you remember, we asked Kalen about tight end at media days, and he was a little like, we're a little dinged up. We got to figure some things out. And he was dinged up early in camp.
They're going to be okay there.
But he's a guy that they said has been fantastic for them in fall camp. And he is someone, I think Grubb told us, he said, there's somewhere out there a recruiting page that I have from Fresno State with his name on it. And so
Really?
they've been on him for a long time. They've known about him for a long time. He's been with the staff for a long time. But they said that leadership-wise, he's been somebody that's really stepped up. And I think that was the cool part, too, is to hear about, like, there's a situation that was happening pregame, which our whole deal with pregame was a little bit convoluted. But Tim Keenum, you can see him on the TV shot. He's walking up and he's talking to Kalen. And there are some people who are putting that out as, he was in Kalen's ear, but it wasn't negative at all. They told us that having Tim Keenum back on the sideline was going to be massive this week because they missed his presence. Even walking around in a boot, they thought they missed his presence last week at Florida State because he didn't make the trip because he just physically wasn't able to make it, wasn't able to go.
He also has, like, Tim Keenum, for those that have been around him, and you have a little, Cole, like, he's got he's a fresh breath of positivity. You know what I mean? Like, he's a good energy guy. And for whatever reason, there's just some people that just make you feel good. He's one of those guys. So I think it's wise that they decided, you know what? Hey, let's get him out here. Let's get him on the sideline. If things start spinning, if things start moving too fast, he can calm people down. And he's got everyone's ear. So I think having your leaders out there and playing free is huge.
They praised what he did in practice all week, being over there with the D linemen, discussed, like I said, how excited they were to have him back on the sideline. Said, man, we needed him. We needed him down at Tallahassee. Didn't have him, and they thought that was a pretty big loss. They thought that was something that could have been a little bit of an extra boost. So anybody who saw him kind of chirping in DeBoer's ear pregame, those two are on the same page. That's one of Kalen's guys that he trusts, that he leans on, that they look at as somebody who's going to benefit this team no matter where he is, no matter what he's doing. So I don't think there was no negativity to that at all. No, none whatsoever. I just kind of want to clarify that because I was asked about it on social media last night. But Tim Keenum is one of the guys.
What are their, like? Help me understand, like, how that would ever be construed as.
Well, it looks like he's talking smack. Like, he's like getting him pumped up, I think, and I think he's just basically saying, hey, we're ready for this. You guys, you got us ready for this. I mean, I think he was just getting his coach excited. But I think there's a negative connotation on it because the way he looked, it could have appeared as though it was like, he was getting after him or something. But number one, think about the moment. It's pregame coming off a loss, against a lower tier opponent that you should smash. I just want people to understand there was no negativity to that whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's, listen, that's kind of where we're going to be with this whole thing until maybe we get 5-6 weeks down the road. But that wasn't it at all. We talked to David Ballou, strength coach, and he said our output numbers, which measure your explosive capability, your speed, your power output, he said they were as high this week in practice as they were all through fall camp. And that might have been the weirdest thing about all of this is talking to him about the offseason they had. He said, we thought it was the best offseason we've had. Talking to Kane Womack about the preseason practice, and it was exactly what you and other people who I knew went to practice talked about. They said it was exactly what we thought. We had an amazing camp. We had a great fall. We were ready for this, and there was nothing thrown at us from the Florida State game that we weren't ready for. And it's just one of those things. It's just guys were thinking a little bit. Guys were a little timid, And I think you removed a lot of that. The first play I saw where Lawson is a little bit, it's like third series maybe. He kind of scrapes over the top, takes on a blocker, strike sheds, comes off, helps make the tackle. I was like, all right, there we go. Now we're good. Like that's what you needed to see. And I thought James Smith up front on defense. Now you're down 2 of your top defensive linemen in this game. I thought he stepped up in a big way and basically said, hey, if I need to be the bully up here, I'll do it. I'll handle it. I thought Clay Russaw did some great things that did not include him making plays. He opened some things up for some other guys, which that unselfish nature on the defensive line is not always there. And I thought that was a real positive. So I think there are a ton of positives you can point to. I get it. It's UL Monroe, and not a lot of people are going to look at it, but you're right. They ran stretch zone. They had splitters behind it. They had inserts with it. They had a gadget quarterback that they can bring in. They can line up different places, do things. They're going to run counter. I've talked to actually Bill Clark about them putting counter back in. They didn't really have that at UAB when they ran this offense. And so the misdirection was there. The motions, the jets were there. They have ways to steal your eyes, but this team was prepared, and they were ready. And I give them a lot of credit for it.
What do you make of not like the talking smack or whatnot? Just first and foremost, a lot of people are still. I'm sitting there yesterday talking with a couple friends in the afternoon. They're like, the Florida State. I'm like, did you by chance watch Florida State yesterday?
They put up 700
more points. They scored more points than they have in any game since 2013. That was a Jameis-led football team. I know it's East Texas A&M or whatnot, but they were up 49-0 at halftime or something. It might have been even worse than that. I don't even know what it was. I'm just telling you, Florida State's weapons, Deuce Robinson, their quarterback, Thomas Castellanos, who, by the way, is in the top 3 right now as far as accuracy is concerned in the country, based on like advanced metrics and stuff like that. Like that guy can run it. He can throw it. I'm telling you, the team they lost to, when we fast forward to the end of the season, be like, all right, you know what? Bama ran into a buzzsaw week 1 against a good team on the road. I think that's Florida State's going to win 10 games this year if they keep playing the way they're playing. Like, I like them a lot better than Clemson. I think they can go toe-to-toe with Miami. I think right now I'm picking them against Florida. I think they got a lot more dynamic offense than Florida. So, I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to go undefeated by any stretch, but we might be at the end of the year fast-forwarding, be like, you know what, that game week 1 in Tallahassee, that's 2 playoff teams teeing it up, and Florida State had their number. That just wouldn't surprise me at season's end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so we want to hear from you as well. We've got Paul Finebaum coming up next, and we'll get his thoughts on sort of where Alabama is now. Where is Florida? That's a question that we're going to have today across the course of the show, and how is that going to be managed moving forward? Greg just brought him up. There's a lot of confidence that's going to be gone there. A couple other folks that are looking good, not looking great. Jeff Levy gets a big win over in Starkville, probably his signature win. After Paul, Dave Neal's going to be with us at 8:20 today. He was on the call for that Florida game. Just kind of get some thoughts with what he thinks that thing's going to look like moving forward. What were some of the issues? That's going to be another one now where when you watch the film, it's not going to be what people want. You're not going to say what you want people to say about it, because they're going to want you to say, oh, you missed blocks and you didn't make tackles and no one disrupted and nobody caught the ball. But that's not necessarily it.
11 penalties.
Yeah, ultimately, I think it came down to those mistakes, and they were untimely, and that was big. We'll also have Tyler Watts at 9, who was also on call for the Alabama game, and Jason Campbell was on call for the Auburn game. He's with us at 9:20 today. So we'll get feedback from multiple angles of both Auburn and Alabama, and then a little bit from Florida as well. But when we come back, Paul Finebaum going to be with us, get his thoughts on where Kalen DeBoer is now. What's the future look like for Billy Napier? Before we do any of that, Greg, tell our listeners about ProLift.
Well, ProLift Garage Door has been doing a great job in this community for a long time. All you got to do is look at their reviews, look at their ratings. They're amazing. You guys will understand what I'm talking about the second you bring them out. The owner, Mike, has done an amazing job of making sure that they can work on all brands of garage doors. So there's a built-in understanding of every type of make and model of garage door. So that means it doesn't matter what you have, whether it's a LiftMaster or anything like that, you'll be taken care of. It's awesome to know they can help you out. They're not a brand. I think a lot of people think they're a brand. but they're not. They just work on whatever brand you might have. They're all over the place too. They do have a location in Baldwin County as well. So if you're listening to us down in the Bay Area, ProLift Doors can get you taken care of, whether it's install, maintenance, service, you name it. You got noises, slow response times, vibration, shaking, call for that service today. By going to proliftdoors.com. That's proliftdoors.com. ProLift Garage Doors, lifting your expectations.
How satisfied are we with Alabama now? We'll ask Paul Finebaum next right here on Jox. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 7:19, Monday, September 8th, right here on Jox Week 2 in the books. We'll continue to discuss it, and we do it each and every Monday at this time. You can see him on the SEC Network, SEC Nation, ESPN, and hear him right here 2 to 6 p.m. weekdays from our friends at Craneworks. It's Paul Finebaum.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Paul Finebaum on Mac and Cube in the morning is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it, the big dog's got it. Now, Paul Finebaum.
All right, Paul, Alabama bounces back 73-0 over ULM. We had a lot of folks last week call in and say it doesn't matter what happens in this game. We're not going to change any opinion we have until Georgia Where do you believe, after what you saw from Alabama Saturday, fans' opinions about the Tide should be?
It's interesting walking around Birmingham yesterday, Cole. I detected a lot of people jumping on board again. but remember, these are fans, and they saw a near perfect performance. Maybe not in terms of grading, but in terms of what it appeared to be visually or in the stadium. So I think it was critically important that this team looked like a real team again. The effort was there. Ty Simpson was quite good. Does it matter or does it mean much overall in the scheme of the season? Probably not. You knew Alabama was going to win that game, but I think it gives this team some confidence, and maybe whatever the problem was week one has been corrected. I think Georgia is a completely different situation. I would worry about Wisconsin first, but I thought Coach DeBoer and his staff did everything they could to change the script, and they did.
Yeah, I was very proud of the effort, Paul. I mean, you can't control the competition, but you can control your level of performance. I thought they played their tails off, and that's all I really wanted to see. Elsewhere in the SEC, Florida, I'm sure you have strong opinions. What was most troubling about it is it felt so self-inflicted. You got to give tremendous credit to USF. Their defense is up to the task all day, and their quarterback, Byron Brown's a great player. But just the mistakes, the penalties, the mismanagement by Billy Napier, it's got to be hard to find some good sleep this week if you're Billy Napier. Like, how does he get this thing back on track?
Well, he completely blew it. This is the same problems we've been seeing from Napier in terms of game management from the beginning, and at this point, there's no reason for optimism. I'm sorry. We went through that last year. It was a roller coaster. Terrible at the beginning, great at the end, and you just can't keep playing with fans' emotions. You have to take control of your program, and he clearly has not. So I think the end is near for Billy Napier. I'm not suggesting anything. I don't have any more control over that program than my dog sitting here next to me. But ultimately, it's hard to come back from this, and the only way is to undo the damage. And the problem for Napier is mathematically. He only had so much room for error anyway with the toughest schedule in the SEC, and now he's completely thrown a game away. When you look at this next 4 or 5 games, even if you win one of those, then you are back to square one, and the odds of Billy Napier winning all 4 of these games is pretty close to zero.
Paul, how complicated is this going to be with their situation administratively, with the new president coming in, things of that nature? Is that a massive hurdle in this entire situation?
I believe it was last year, but I think the most important thing that happened recently in all of this is that Scott Strickland was extended. I mean, his contract has been extended, so therefore he no longer has the concerns that some ads do when they're stuck with one of their own people. And clearly, this is Strickland's guy. But he dialed up a winner in basketball. Basketball does not equal football, but it's winning a national championship at Florida in basketball counts for a lot. So that's really important. And I think Scott Strickland, I'll be very interested to see what if anything Scott Strickland has to say. You guys remember last year early on he was very vocal in his support of Billy Napier. I would be shocked to hear him utter similar statements today.
Yeah, it's fair. Who's taking a lot of heat is Kirby and the offense, and it's hard for me to kind of jump to the conclusion that Kirby's lost what they're doing offensively. There's a little bit of a lackluster start in week 1 in pass protection, a little bit of an underwhelming performance last week. At what point do you start to become a little concerned? I mean, they do have Tennessee this week, so they can get it all back, but based on what you've seen in the first couple of weeks from Georgia, is there reason to panic? Because some of their fans are.
Well, that's understandable, but I don't know. When you're Georgia and you're used to opening against Oregon or Clemson or someone of great importance, and you have 2 underwhelming opponents, I frankly think it's pretty hard to get going. Greg, you and Cole both played on teams like that, and you'd rather see somebody in week 1 or in week 2 to point for it. And so this is, I'm not making excuses. I'm just giving you the schedule. I expect something completely different this week. The atmosphere will be insane. Tennessee is a school that they have literally owned in recent years, but that doesn't really matter when it comes to a game like this. They understand what is at stake. It's very, very likely the biggest game in the country, and I expect something totally different. Now, conversely, for Josh Heupel, and I realize that wasn't the question, you have to know this is your best shot at Georgia in a long time.
And I want to go to a couple other games that maybe didn't get the attention that they probably should have, specifically Ole Miss and Kentucky. Do you change your opinion on Stoops in this game? Do you change your opinion on Lane and maybe what either of these teams can bend with both quarterbacks getting dinged up now moving forward? Maybe that shifts things. Where are you on these two squads after what they did to one another on Saturday afternoon?
I didn't see that kind of game, but on the other hand, others did. And Cole, every year somebody goes to Kentucky and almost loses. Georgia last year, other schools in the past. And so I don't think that should be considered a shock. For Mark Stoops, he can take whatever he wants out of this game, but it was still a loss. It was still an opportunity that he desperately needed to change the narrative. And at the end, it's just another, we almost beat a good team. I think Kiffin has to be a little bit concerned, but yeah, I think the issue is the quarterback. What's Simmons health-wise? There's some monster games at the end of the month for Ole Miss, and I think that's what Lane Kiffin is thinking about, not so much what happened last week.
Paul, when you look at just kind of first of all, I agree with you. I think Ole Miss can be fine. I think Simmons needs to know when to stop making a bad play worse. Like bad snap, throw it into traffic. Bad protection, throw it up for grabs. Like, he'll learn. I'm not worried about him. I think he'll be just fine. Their run game, I think, is different this year. LSU, want to get to them. I think everybody is all in, understandably. I love what I've seen from them defensively. I still, however, am just holding back the thinnest shroud of doubt on whether or not if they need to run it, they can. Is there a point, like, what do you think is the most important thing that needs to be on display for LSU this week when they welcome what should be an angry and bitter Florida team to town?
Yeah, I just think it's handling the moment. It was again an underwhelming performance, but I think that was probably more easily predictable than some of the other ones we talked about. I mean, they're coming off of one of the two best performances of the week. And it's hard to come down, especially as a sandwich game. But I just think you're right about the running game. I mean, I really like. I mean, their defense is suffocating. I think they just need to play a cleaner game, and frankly, I think they will. I mean, a number of combinations go into the preparation of this game. Most important last year. I mean, this LSU team. That was a season-ending loss a year ago in Gainesville, and I know that has not lost them their mind. But the one thing about Brian Kelly I've been intrigued by lately, away from the field, is he's got some swagger that I have not seen from him in a while. I think he knows what he has. I mean, shots at me, shots at. I mean, the thing with Dabo. Greg and Cole, I haven't seen that out of Brian. I mean, Kelly could have just laughed that one off. Instead, he just decided to cut Dabo's heart out.
He did. We went right after him. What about Dabo? Down 16-0 to Troy, a team with legitimate national championship hopes. Have everybody back. Great continuity. Very few teams in the country were playing better at the end of the year at times than what we saw from Clemson, and yet now 2 back-to-back performances, 6 quarters before they wake up this season. They can't run the ball. The offensive line's getting pushed around. They lost their best weapon offensively so far. Hopefully will be back at some point. Like, at what point do you start to press the panic button if you're Clemson?
I think you got to be pretty panicked right now. By the way, Troy to me was the takeaway from that game. That was incredibly impressive. And deep down, I'm rather sorry they didn't win. But I think Clemson's got the schedule though that they can figure things out. I mean, this isn't the SEC. They'll see some good opponents later on. And by the way, I mean the ACC has a lot more going for it. Although that SMU loss was a body blow on top of some of the other ones. But I mean, every time you want to say that Dabo has outsmarted the field, he slips back a little bit.
Right.
How big was this win for Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri? I actually asked Tom Hart on our broadcast over the weekend. So a lot of folks that pay close attention to SEC football for a long time, they don't know how big this game is. And for him to get to 2-0 and get that rivalry win, just what do you take away from it for him and for Mizzou?
A great deal. And Cole, you spent a lot of time out there. You understand that culture. I didn't really until this past weekend. Spending 2 days there and just listening to the fans talk about this KU game. I mean, guys, I mean, it's hard to take KU seriously. I respect Lance Leipold, and they've done a really good job. But that really means something out there. I mean, I think that's bigger than anything else on the schedule from a personal standpoint. So having a wild weekend, it really was wild. I don't know how much you could tell on TV before the game, but it was as crazy a scene as we have encountered in our 12 years on the road. And it's not just much the size of the crowd; it's just the absolute hatred for the other side. So winning that game gives him enormous credibility. It's a shot in the arm for everybody on that team. And I came away really thinking that they can turn one or two games, and they're on the cusp of the playoffs as well.
Paul, always great stuff. We appreciate the time. We look forward to catch up with you next week. I'll see you here in a few hours.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.
Paul Finebaum joining us. Thanks to our friends at Craneworks on the Higginbotham Hotline. Talking multiple SEC games over the weekend. We've got plenty to get into, plenty that we need to discuss. We'll continue doing it next right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 7:35 Monday, September 8th, right here on Jox. Appreciate Paul Finebaum hopping in. We will get to some of your feedback. 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX. Games from over the weekend. What did you like? What are you concerned about still? Have you turned the corner on Alabama? Are you back on board, or you still need to wait? Because last week a lot of y'all said, doesn't matter what happens in this game, not going to get back on board. So we'll get your feedback there. Auburn gets a nice win, 42-3 over Ball State. We've seen Hugh do this before, Greg, but he comes out throwing against a lower-tier opponent, and some of it understandable. You want to get Jackson Arnold comfortable. You want to continue to get the receivers in a groove, get them going. Now you're going to have some pass protection stuff that you really need to work on. I mean, right guard turns one loose. Right tackle gets beat one time, gives up a strip sack. That stuff's got to get cleaned up, specifically before you play Oklahoma in 2 weeks, because that group is going to get after you maybe more so than anybody else in college football. But ran the ball well. Jackson Arnold looks solid. He got to go out there, pitch it around a little bit more. I think you feel good about kind of where Auburn is, specifically on defense. You'll being able to hold your opponent to just 3 points against Ball State on Saturday.
Yes. I think it was a good, solid performance. I mean, if they wanted to run it for as much as they wanted to run it, they could run it for whatever they wanted to run it for, right? Like, well, we know what the modus operandi of attack was supposed to be, the point of emphasis. I'm still waiting. I just don't yet still trust Jackson Arnold as a thrower. I just don't. Like, there's just something that's a little off there. Maybe he's just not that guy that's like a great carve you up type of guy. Maybe he's a good I think he is a good off schedule player. I think he's a really good runner. That goes without saying. Some of the accuracy, and even on balls that were completed, just some of the accuracy just needs the tightest bit of improvement. I think it just needs the tightest bit of just cleaning it up a hair. Allow for a little more yards after catch. Like, I think there's room for growth there. I just hope it can be made, right? That's the only thing. I just don't know, because he's never, so far, he's not been an overwhelmingly accurate guy in the first 2 years of watching him as a college player. Now, I mean, I would just want to kind of see that light go on. What do you make of it?
Well, first off, before I give you my thoughts on it, how do you correct that? Is it just game reps? Is it?
You know, I think some guys are just naturally accurate. You know what I mean? Like, some guys just have a knack for accuracy. And I don't know if he does. You know, I mean, I'm talking next level accuracy. I'm not talking like, you watch, for example, go watch the kid at Oregon.
Dante Moore.
Just next level accuracy. Like, just a knack for putting the ball on the receiver's face mask. Like, repeatable motion. Like, the way he gets rid of it. Like, he looks like a pitching machine. Like, when you watch a pitching machine throw, why is the pitching machine so accurate in throwing strikes as you're just cleaning up, right? Because the motion's the exact same. Like, with Arnold, there's just a little bit of variance there, and I think it leads to some inconsistencies, especially on some of the downfield stuff. But I don't know. There's just something about the accurate. Like, and to be honest with you, like, you know who's not like the most naturally accurate guy? I think he's one of the best players in the country, John Mateer. Yeah. You don't have to be the most naturally accurate guy if you have the game breaker player, you know, game breaker. They got to play a lot of zone coverage so you can kind of throw in the windows type. You know what I mean? But when you're playing against teams that are going to play man, that can play man, and there will be several that Jackson Arnold will see, you got to make tight throws. And right now, in 2 games, I haven't seen like next level, high level, big time accuracy that's going to allow for tons of run after catch. So I hope it's in there. I want to see a little more of it.
Yeah, it's. I think some of that comes with the anticipation, confidence. If you can get that,
confidence.
Then you
confidence is absolutely a big part of it.
Yeah, then you know where to get the ball because you've done it before. It's happened before, and you've had those repetitions to be able to do that. So, and he and Mateer, let's be honest, they're similar from the standpoint of they're move-around guys. They're confident in their ability to move. The arm angle is going to change a little bit. The arm angle is not going to be super consistent. Both have good wheels, probably have the confidence that they can make plays that way. So don't mind, bailing on something if it's tight, if it's close. Oh, okay, I'll move around, let him get open, find different space, or be able to run the football. But I thought the offensive line in the run game did some nice things, looked good. It's just the pass. You came away very concerned about pass protection in this game. I mean, if Ball State's 210-pound edge defender is giving the right tackle consistent problems upfield, watch out. The right guard we have more confidence in than anybody up there, maybe opposite the center, and multiple reps where he had somebody in the quarterback's face. You're throwing a screen and quarterback's taking a big shot. Like it was a flag and it kept a drop from being an interception, but don't need to be taking big shots on screen specifically. I mean, screen designed almost not to get hit. Well, that kind of screen, not your traditional screen where you're drawing your opponent to you. So those are things you walk away concerned of. I mean, he left the pocket and looked good there, as you stated. Understands how to get into open space and run past you or run around you. Did that a couple of times. But, man, the pass pro is something I came away from this game a little bit more concerned with than I did after week 1 against Baylor.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping it's, kind of a weird second game, little hangover type of situation, right? I mean, surely that's what it is. The only thing that concerns me is the fact that against Baylor, and we've now found out through 2 games, Baylor's defense is a sieve, correct? Like
it doesn't. Yes.
I don't know if you've watched the SMU tape. Oh, by the way, Sawyer Robertson, dude, dude sandwich. Like the guy's a freaking stud. But
he's a player.
Oh gosh, is he ever? But the Baylor defense, So it's a little concerning that now through 2 weeks, I don't feel like there's been a ridiculous amount of clean pockets. And then what's even more concerning is that in fall camp, a lot of what we heard is that the defensive line was penetrating and creating problems. So I don't think this week is one where you're going to get exposed. But at some point here very soon, we know Georgia will be problematic in that area. We know Missouri can get after you. We know A&M can get after you. We've now learned based on last week, it appears like Bama on the interior can create some problems. So there's going to be some teams that they see that are going to be a bit of an issue with the pass rush. So I hope that it's just a work in progress, but maybe it's not. We'll see.
For those that missed it, Sawyer Robertson was 34 of 50 for 440 and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions against SMU. So another good day. And had 2 receivers over 145 yards, none named Michael Trigg. However, they put up 601. SMU put up 458. And, yeah, you look at that and say that could be a little bit problematic moving forward because the Baylor defense not able to get a ton of stops right now, just not getting a ton of stops. So we'll take your feedback, 800-239-9569. Are you back on board with Alabama after what you saw? We'll talk a little bit more about that when we return right here on Jox. All right, 800-239-9569. You want to get in, talk any college football from over the weekend. Mondays we react, and we get your reaction as well. Let us know what you're thinking. Are you back on board with Alabama, or are you saying, nah, not yet? Need to see more. A lot of you said you need to see it against Georgia, but you probably didn't expect Ty Simpson to go 17-17. Something that McElroy or Tyler Watts or Tua never did. And
I would have, but Eddie Lacy dropped a pass. You know,
here we go.
there's the teammate we all love right there.
Absolutely.
That's
Eddie after the game was hilarious. He goes, "Dog, hey, that one I had, that was the incompletion." I'm like, "Yeah, Eddie." He goes, "Oh man, I'm sorry, bro." I was like, "Dude, it's okay, dude. I wouldn't worry about it. We were playing Georgia State, all right? Let's it's not a big deal." But 17-17, and what I liked most about it, there were a couple throws downfield that were very, very nice. Obviously softened them up on the underneath. There was a throw in the red zone, moving in the pocket, had a little pressure off the right side, stepped up, getting hit, hangs onto the ball, 2 hands on the ball, tough in the pocket, strong in the pocket, delivers a strike over the middle, working left to right. Like it wasn't just it was 17-17. Like if you go back and look at, my games against lesser competition where I've had a high completion percentage, it was freaking routes on air. There were a couple in there that were not automatic, which I think was pretty dang impressive.
No, I would agree with that, but I just, it's I told you earlier, I like the way they called it. I thought Ty came out and executed the game plan well. You got a couple going on the perimeter early where I thought Grubb basically gave him quick 1-2s, like, hey, if this is the look, hand it off. If it's not, spit it out to the perimeter, let your playmakers make a play. And he made those decisions quickly, got a little quarterback run down in the red zone. He was able to score with it. And then after they loosened him up outside, some of the, you began to run downhill just a little bbit. That was going. Then you play action down the field. It was just, I saw the plan as opposed to where in the Florida State game, and Grubb told us, right? He's like, listen, man, I probably got away from it a little fast. He said, but there were a lot of circumstances. The way the game was going, the weather, first time starter at quarterback, there was how many possessions were we now going to get because they were moving the ball on the ground some. He like a lot of things play into that, and that's what we don't look at a lot of times after the fact. I wanted to get your take on something. I'm gonna share a little bit of my weekend first because I want to do one thing here on the show. First off, it's always cool going down there to cover games because you played there, you won a national championship there, so you know what it is. I just have a lot of respect for the program, and obviously it took a while to earn that respect from Coach Saban. But I've known Kalen for a while, and I'm a big fan of he and a lot of members of his staff. It was obviously a little bit kind of like a home game. So went down for meetings Saturday morning. Kid has first flag football game. Was able to drive back for that, then drive back. And then obviously came home Saturday night. We had our 2 first baseball games. 5-year-old had his first coach pitch game, so I wanted to stick around for that. So flew to Charlotte later last night. It was a weekend now. Don't get me wrong. I thought I was behind last weekend, Greg. I need about 20 more hours in today if you can help me get that. That would help a lot if we can make that happen because it's not going to happen. But I did want to say, and you and I go to a lot of cool places. We go to a lot of schools, and a lot of people are nice. The people in Alabama are always gracious. They're always hospitable. They always treat me with a ton of respect because I think that there's just being on the air in Birmingham, it's intertwined a little bit. And we I think both sides understand that. But Alex Thompson, Greg Byrne, and the guys, I had a friend of mine that was going to the game. When he found out I was doing the game, he's like, hey, I'm taking my son to the game. His son's same age as my youngest. He goes, why don't you let me take the boys? They can watch you work, maybe able to see them before the game or whatever. Was able to get the boys on the field before the game. They came and watched the game. They were able to stick around till a little bit after halftime. And just to have them there, and I'll share this too. So I'm standing on the field, you do the same thing I do, pregame warm-ups, they're around the 50, whatever, and you talk to coaches on both sides. Some coaches come talk to you, some you kind of have to seek out. And we're down there, and Kalen comes up. Kalen and I talked off and on. He stood over there with me for probably 15 minutes at practice, and just one-on-one, we were going through everything. I'm like, well, what do you think about this? Or how are you going to handle that? And he's like, well, this is what we want to do. This is what happened last week. Like, we went through all of it. And we're at midfield, and he's like, you good? Everything good? I was like, man, it's an expletive show right now. I was like, I got the 8-year-old and 5-year-old over there on the sideline. He's like, what? Where? And I was like, the baby blue baseball jersey right there, and the one that's like wrestling his friend on, literally rolling on the ground on the sideline, right? Like that one of those two right there. And Greg, he doesn't say a word. He just turns and runs. Like, literally just turns and runs to my kids. And I'm like, where are you going? And he just goes over there and, like, he introduces himself to my buddy that brought the kids. He introduced himself to my two. He had met him before down at the Grand, and when he was there for a golf tournament, for the Senior Bowl golf tournament, and sits there, talks to him, says hey to him real quick, stops for a picture, and then goes back out there. And I'm just like, God didn't have to do that. I didn't ask him to do that. I didn't think there was any chance in the world he would do that. But that's just who he is. And I just want to say thanks again to everybody down there for making it, for me personally, an incredible weekend. To be, as you know, because we don't get to do it a lot. We don't get to have our kids around very much in the fall.
No.
And we don't get to do a lot of the stuff that they do and go and see it and watch it and be around it. And so to have them come and allow them, and then I had to start the game on the sideline, then go up. Like, it was discombobulated. Tom was like, he told my buddy, he goes, hey, bring him up to the booth for the game. Like, let him see it. He's like, Cole's not going to – he's got a lot going. But so they went up there. They were able to see the booth, like, you know, put the headsets on, whatever. And then, like, it was just an awesome weekend. And a lot of people were responsible for that. But I just want to say how appreciative I am to the people at Alabama for doing that. Because, I mean, sometimes you and I go 15, 17 straight weekends without seeing our kids on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And to be able to have that on a work weekend, it was pretty cool. So just wanted to kind of share that part of my weekend.
Well, good. I'm pumped for you, buddy. That's great. And look, Kalen's just the world's greatest guy. Like, you'll never hear anything but that from me. And I know people want to judge him or will judge him based on the performance of the team, and that's totally fair. I mean, you know what you sign up for when you become the head coach of Bama, but he's the world's greatest guy. Like, he really is. And, like, I want it for him, not just because it's my school, because he's a good person. And I absolutely believe in his processes. And I absolutely believe that he can get it right. Like, I really believe those things. So I'm glad to hear that you had a great experience. Also really glad to hear that your kids did too. I'm especially encouraged that they now have seen, you know, the premier institution in the great state of Alabama. To have witnessed a game from the sideline is amazing. So maybe we can convert them to Tide fans. You know, it's great.
Yeah,
once you see the best, like, it's fine. Like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I understand. So if they kind of come to the good guys' side, like, will more than happily accommodate them. Absolutely.
And maybe that was
you
part
tell
of it.
Locke
Maybe
and Judge, come call Uncle Greg. Uncle Greg's got you. Load them up, swag, jerseys, crimson, everything, head to toe. We'll have them Tide fans in literally less than a month.
You better have an extra bedroom too, because that's where they'll be staying. So,
we have one. You know what? We'll find one.
There.
We're going to be we'll find them one.
Get ready.
That's great. We'll make that happen.
They had a lot of comments in that direction, I'll just say. There was a lot. There was a lot. And I think they got a talking to from me before when we put it on them and planned it, and I think they got a very stern talking to from their mom when they left. Very, very, very directed as to enjoy this, see it, and
you remember who pays your rent, son.
There's still a line drawn in the sand.
Is there any way you could rewatch the Florida State film just in front of them, just for no reason at all?
We might need to put that game on this week.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. We'll welcome them with open arms. You tell them Uncle Greg's got a place for them to stay, plenty of swag for them to rock, and a first-class education they can receive here in the next 15, 16 years. So we'll have them in good shape, get them taken care of, and ready to dominate the world once they get out of school. It'd be great.
Well, Brian Vincent came over and talked to him before the game also, and they did think that ULM's helmets were really cool, which I think we all would agree they are pretty sweet.
They are sweet.
So that was a little bit of a win too. I think they looked over there and were like, all right, we got something to root for here. The helmets are cool. But yeah, it was an awesome weekend. I just wanted to say thanks again for everybody who helped put that together. We got a lot more football to discuss, including talking to somebody who was on the call for the Florida game and that catastrophe. We'll discuss all that in the next hour right here on Jox.